Hey everyone, it's me. Welcome to another Bible story. This is the story of how David spared Saul's life. One day, David and his men were hiding in a cave. They were afraid because King Saul was hunting them. In fact, Saul was very close to the cave. He was just outside the entrance. And as he passed by, David and his men came out of the cave and followed him. They didn't make a sound, just walked behind him until they were out of sight. Then David said to his men, "Look, today the Lord has delivered the king into our hands. But I will not do what you are planning to do, and I will not kill him, for he is the Lord's anointed. Now, Jonathan is one of the king's sons." He heard David say this, and he was very grateful. He stood up and said, "As the Lord lives, our God, I will seek out my father, King Saul, and tell him that you have shown great kindness and mercy to him today. That is why I want to show kindness and mercy to you." So Jonathan went back to tell his father what had happened. One day David and his men were hiding in a cave, and he had the chance to kill King Saul. But instead, he only cut a corner of Saul's robe and said, "I will not lay a hand on the Lord's anointed." Why do you think David did this? Do you think it was right for him to cut off Saul's robe? Let me know your thoughts. In 1 Samuel 24 verse 6 it says, "And it came to pass, when David had done all that was to be done for that day, that he went up to the cave again. And as the sun went down, there came a sound of the king's displeasure by reason of the noise that he made in the cave, as when a serpent bitteth an adder." As David was hiding in the cave, he heard King Saul and his men making lots of noise. The word for noise here is the Hebrew word rapha, which means clamor, uproar, or tumult. Imagine the sound of many people shouting, making lots of noise, and causing a commotion. That is exactly what was happening. Now, we don't know exactly why the king was so upset. We can imagine that he was very angry because he couldn't find David. I can just picture it. There's the cave, and David and his men are hiding inside. And King Saul is outside the cave with his men, and they're yelling and screaming and making lots of noise, trying to find David. But David is hiding. He is safe. So now, what does David do? What should he do? Some people might say, well, this is my chance. I can kill the king right now. He's very close. What does David do? He waits. He doesn't do anything. He waits until the next day. In verse 7 it says, "And David rose up early in the morning, and it was found that the Lord had given him into the king's hand, for he had left the spear in the cave, and the king was just going out after him." So in the morning, when David woke up, he knew that God had given Saul into his hands, because he had left his spear in the cave. You see, when David and his men had left the cave the day before, they had made lots of noise and commotion. But when Saul came to the cave, they had been quiet. David had left his spear there. So when Saul came into the cave, he saw the spear. And he picked it up, and he thought, "Aha! I got you now, David." But when he turned around, David was gone. We don't know exactly how long David waited in the cave, but we know that he trusted God's timing. And in God's timing, he had mercy on Saul. That's all for the lesson today. See you next time.